7th, 2013 meeting of the City Council is hereby called to order. The meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV Cable Channel 2 and are closed captioned for hearing impaired viewers. Please note some customers of Cox Communication who do not have a cable box may view this meeting on digital channel 89.5. The council meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, may be viewed on the internet at www.kclv.tv. The proceedings will be video recorded on KCLV and the web. The Wednesday of the meeting at 8 p.m., also on Friday at 4 a.m., Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 7 p.m., and the following Monday at 1 p.m. This building is protected by a state-of-the-art fire detection and suppression sprinkler system. If alarms should activate during today's meeting, please evacuate using the exit at the back of the chambers out to the mezzanine. Proceed out the double doors to the terrace and down the back staircase. For anyone who has difficulty with stairs, please check with a marshal or fire official for assistance. Once outside, assemble on the northeast corner of the street, City Hall at Lewis and First Street. Employees wearing safety vests or city marshals will inform you when it's safe to re-enter the building. For public comment related to items on the agenda, citizen participation, and public hearing items, we have available a speaker card which you may complete and submit to the city clerk. Cards are available online in the clerk's office or at the rear of these chambers. If you do not submit a card, it does not prevent you from speaking under public comment, citizen participation, or specified public hearing items. If there is anyone present today who has a need for hearing impaired equipment, please come forward and see the city clerk's staff up front. If you parked in the parking garage across the street and did not receive a validation ticket as you entered chambers, please exit to your right and then see the security personnel at the entrance. Before we proceed with today's agenda, would everyone please rise for the invocation this morning given by Pastor Robert Fowler, Victory Missionary Baptist Church, and remain standing for our pledge. Good morning.
Good morning, Councilman Barlow and City Council persons. Good to see you this morning. Eternal God and Heavenly Father, we thank you once again this morning for the precious privilege that we have of being able to live this day. We're grateful to you for the health and the strength that we possess, and for the privilege of being able to walk in our right minds. We're grateful to you for that. Likewise, we're grateful for the wonderful privilege that we possess of being able to live in such a marvelous city. We thank you for the way the sun shines upon this city, for its placement in the desert and for its placement upon this earth, and for our wonderful honor of being able to live here year-round. This morning, I thank you for the City Council that has gathered to do our city's bidding and our city's business. I thank you for each and every servant of this city that is here, and I especially thank you for their families who bear the brunt of their service to our city as well. I pray your strength and understanding to them, and I pray your strength for our City Council today as they deliberate over issues and events that will reach our city. I pray for your wisdom with them. I pray, God, that they would operate with a sensitive heart as well as a keen mind. And I ask that the results of their deliberations today would move our city toward further prosperity and toward further peace. Thank you again for this day. We're honored to be able to live it in your name. Amen.
We'll now proceed with the ceremonial portion of the agenda.
I'm not the last one today. Just
I'm proud of you also.
Look, that brought this about. So we have to get, right, it's only, that gentleman.
Steve, did you pick a number? I did. Good sport. It was the Mormon thing to do.
Man.
Yeah, but if you don't want the money,
We won't give you up.
what? Lotteries or just?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, you introduce yourself like that. Hey, could you choose not to talk?
Okay, here we go.
Did I prop it up?
We're having a dialogue. This is very important business. I can tell.
Oh, my goodness.
Very important to our city, I know. I want to welcome our president of our Nevada League of Cities here, Deborah Marsh, from the council at Henderson, and we're delighted you're here. Thank you. Okay, this is ceremonial portion of the agenda, and today it's my pleasure to honor an outstanding group of employees at the city. I'd like to ask our Information Technologies Director, Joe Marcella, to join us here at the podium for this presentation. Please, here he comes. The Action Team Award recognizes a team of employees striving to be superheroes in the workplace, meeting our values of action, which, as you know, because I've said it each time we have a meeting, stands for achievement, creativity, teamwork, integrity, and ownership now. The August Action Team is made up of 3 city employees who sure make a difference, like this meeting and having it go off so smoothly. I'd like to invite our IT presentation rescue team of Doyon Sun, Mark Avis, and Mike Wofford to join us here at the podium, leaving us in whose hands? Good, because we expect it all to fall apart now that we have you up here. Congratulations to you. This team is one of the unsung groups at the city, which makes their co-workers' lives so much easier. Often there are technological presentations, PowerPoints, videos, and other formats, which of course help our city and our residents better understand the stories we need to tell. These 3 team members work to ensure that the presentations are clear to all of our constituents, and hopefully for those of us who work in this building. They save us often. In the council chambers, they take great pride in the seamless delivery of service. They want every briefing to be beautifully presented and work hard to have everything prepared ahead of time. Doyon, Mark, and Mike have rescued many a stranded instructor from presentation problems in the classrooms and conference rooms at City Hall. They ensure that the presentations and embedded PowerPoint videos play with the video and audio perfectly synchronized. Every time I've seen them in action, it was in response to something someone needed done. Now is when we need it done. That's the word on our floor for sure. Whether at their individual desk or in the classroom, in the city manager, the city council's conference rooms, or in the council chambers, these 3 gentlemen respond to changing demands with the flexibility and expertise that we take such pride in. These gentlemen keep us all looking technologically competent, whether or not we are. And the only thing I know is it's wonderful that I'm here instead of my predecessor, who didn't know how to use any of it and wouldn't try. So we congratulate you and thank you. And we have a certificate for each of you, but most importantly, we want to hear from Joe Marcella, who directs everything in IT. Thank you. Joe.
Well, thank you, Mayor. One, if you look at the size of these guys, I mean, one, I'd like to congratulate them and thank the mayor and council. You actually do help. You give us wonderful direction. The thing that I think is really marvelous about all of this is that things, well, technology is not an exact science, so things do go wrong, but they make it look as seamless as they possibly can. So I wanted to thank Patsy McFadden for recognizing these individuals. But I also like to congratulate the rest of the organization because they have a great support team that help them do what they do. They're out there in the community, and when they see them, it's, while you're here, can you solve another problem? And apparently they seem to do that fairly well. So thank you all, and thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. We're so proud. So, Naomi, thank you. You poor soul are up in my office at my desk too many times, and thank you so much. We appreciate you. Keep us sane and take us out of that horrible time. We don't know what's happened, and we can't find something we've lost in our computer. So, thank you very much. May you have many, 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 many more years with our council helping them through all their problems. And thank you, Joe. I mean, you've been wonderful. Anybody had a particular problem we need fixed today in your office? No? Everybody's happy? Oh, here.
A few of the council members.
Just fix the council members. So anyway.
We don't announce IT problems ahead of time.
Okay, that's right. You want to see how quickly they can get upstairs and help us. So anyway, gentlemen, congratulations, Joe. Thank you very much for everything you do. So you are it today. So we will conclude this portion of the agenda, I think, and we will continue right on right now with our council meeting. Is this awesome? This is we are now keeping a record of everything we do. Where's Ego? Six. Okay, agenda item 6. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. The amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. All comments made will be cross-referenced to those specific items. If anyone submitted a speaker card or wishes to speak under this portion of the agenda, please come forward to the podium, state your name for the record. We will set the time at 1 minute. And I have cards here from Paul Moradkin, and that's on item 9 in reference 49. And we have Paul Moradkin also on 43. And we have Tim Clausen on item number 9. So good morning, and please state your names for the record, and we will keep inviting you back up.
Good morning, Mayor Goodman and members of City Council. Paul Morakin on behalf of the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce. I'll speak on item 9 and 49 and come back on 43 for the public hearing. On item 9, regarding the approval of the business impact statement, the Metro Chamber would like to thank the city for its comprehensive efforts preparing a great business impact statement. It's thorough. It gives information our members are looking for. It tells you how many businesses are going to be impacted, the costs, and the city staff, administrative, business licensing, and the city manager has done a great job with that. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank the staff for those efforts. On item 49, regarding the multi-jurisdictional legislation, I'd like to thank the bill sponsor, Councilman Ross and Karen Duddleston. This is great enabling legislation for multi-jurisdictional business licensing. It's cleaning up the code, it's consolidating, it's streamlining, and it is very business friendly, and we believe it will be a great asset to the city to attract more businesses to the city of Las Vegas. And I'd like to thank you for those efforts. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you very much, Paul. I think that's an effort that we have been just anxious to see come about, so it is great. Yes, ma'am, if you'll state your name for the record, please.
It's Melissa Letourneau. I'm sorry I didn't fill out a speaker card. I was a little bit late.
Could you, that's all right, could you spell your last name for the record, please?
It's Letourneau.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. And I just wanted to speak on item 32. And I understand that item 32 is just an extension of a contract I believe that you already have in place. But I just wanted to take the opportunity just to say a few things about it, just informational purposes. Out of concern was, I was just reading, it has to do with the intelligent transportation system, I believe. And I was just looking into that recently. And I found some stuff on the U.S. Department of Transportation site that I thought was a little bit of a concern, having to do with the intelligent transportation system. And obviously this may not be the state that you're at in your development yet, but some of the things off of the website, and I could give you copies of this if you wanted, but some of the things on the website had mentioned research program to include active traffic management, international border crossing, roadside infrastructure, and commercial vehicles, and then electronic payment.
Well, you know, I'm going to say, because your 1 minute has passed, if you would hold that, if you're able to stay for this morning's presentation at 32. If not, you might just, even though it's on the website there that you're cited, give it to our city clerk, and she can put it with your name as submitted.
That's fine. I'll go ahead and do that because I can't stay. But just as long as you guys could maybe take a look at it, I could email it to you as well if I could get something
Okay.
to the clerk. So,
Perfect.
all right. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, you're going to send us a copy then? She's
Yes.
emailing it?
Yeah.
I can do that.
Great. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Please state your name.
Good morning, Mayor and fellow council members. My name is Tim Clausen. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association to speak on item 9 on the business impact of the proposed amendments to the liquor laws. We have previously filed comments, written comments to the city on the legality of what we believe is Section 10, which is, we feel, violates state law, which would allow retail liquor stores to fill growlers on their premises. We disagree with the business impact on that certain section, Section 10 that is. We do believe there is an impact not only for the violations of state law, but also for health issues, consumer fraud issues, and potential impacts on other licenses. We would respectfully request the commission or the council reconsider Section 10 of the proposed amendments, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Pardon? He was at number 9, which is in cross references, I think. A hold 9, yeah. Which does it cross reference into? Okay. Where is? Okay. I don't see Mr. Jerbick. We're locating our attorney just on this item, please. Mr. Jerbick, on number 9, comments on the legality of certain aspects of number 9. Okay. Could you make comment to that, please?
I didn't hear the question, but if somebody could repeat it for me, I'd be glad to answer it.
Could you come
I
back
think
up
it was
and
a
restate your
representative-
comment?
It was a representative of the beer wholesalers who
Tim
expressed some
Clausen.
concern about the
Tim
legality
Clausen.
of the liquor regulation we have today.
This is Mr. Clausen, Mr. Jervik, and if you would restate your comment, please.
Good morning, Mr. Jervik. My name is Tim Clausen. Again, for the record, I'm here on behalf of Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association. We understand we're here on item 9, which is the business impact of the
Later.
proposed amendments for the liquor law ordinances. We have filed previous written comments towards these amendments, and specifically to Section 10, which would allow retail liquor stores to fill growlers on their premises. We assert our legality issues that this section violates state law. If you need specifics, I'm more than happy to provide those to you. And we've also raised additional concerns today that we believe this section impacts other businesses in other ways, including health issues, consumer fraud issues, and impacts other possible licenses that are not addressed in Section 10.
I appreciate that. I had a meeting yesterday, actually, with other members of your industry, and I appreciate the argument. There's nothing in this proposed law that, in my opinion, violates state law. In fact, it specifically states that nothing in the law counteracts or overrides state law, and you still have to comply with it. With respect to the bill, it's not eligible today. It's just being introduced today. If you'd like, I'd be glad to meet with you between now and the time that's going to be discussed by the council and address your concerns. I think I have a meeting coming up next week, in fact. If you'll leave your card or some business contact information with the clerk, I'll be glad to contact you before the council votes on it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No. Thank you very much, and you will then leave your card for Mr. Jervik.
Yes, at my
and
office
you'll
will
meet.
contact.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none, now we will move on to item 7. For possible action, any items that the council staff and/or applicant wish to be stricken, tabled, withdrawn, or held in abeyance to a future meeting may be brought forward and acted upon at this time. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 items. Item number 45, appeal of a work card denial for Joshua Anthony Corella at the Olive Garden Italian Restaurant, 10800 West Charleston. Staff has asked that be obeyed till September 4th, 2013. Item number 46, appeal of a work card for Mark Richard Poulos at Stanley Convergent Security Solutions, 917 South First Street. Staff has asked that be stricken. And item number 61, SDR 48852 applicant DR Horton, owner DR Horton, on 26.4 acres adjacent to the southeast corner of Deer Springs and Campbell Road. The applicant has asked that be obeyed till September 18th, 2013, and that's my motion.
Thank you very much. There's a motion. Please vote. And please post. Thank you. That motion carries. Items 8, we're moving on to item 8. Items 8 through 41 on the consent agenda are considered to be routine or recommended for approval by the departments and may be enacted in one motion. Are there any items that the council wishes to be brought forward? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 8 through 41.
Thank you. This motion, please vote.
Madam Mayor,
Please post. That motion carries. Yes, Councilwoman.
I just wanted to reiterate what I've mentioned in the CMO briefings, and that is that we ensure that as this work is done, that a current level of assessment is made, and that at the end, we have a assessment of all the right types of tests to make sure that we can then determine what was beneficial and what was not. I just wanted to add that again and put it on the record, but I agree with it.
Thank you. Do you want to make comment back?
We've got that noted, and we will make sure that we have that kind of information brought forward before we bring a contract back.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 42, report regarding The Southern Nevada Strong Initiative from the City of Henderson, Councilwoman Deborah Marsh, Consortium Chairman of Southern Nevada Strong, in reference to all wards. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for the record, Mayor Goodman and council members, it's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here in front of you today, and I am Councilwoman Deborah March. I appreciate the work that you do, and I know how much time it takes, so I'll try to be as concise as possible. Our council meeting went until after 11 o'clock last night, so I don't want to keep you here till 11 tonight. I'm pleased to be able to address you about Southern Nevada Strong, and Betsy, maybe we could hand these to the council. Appreciate that. I wanted to share with you the mission of Southern Nevada Strong, which is to build a foundation for long-term economic success and community livelihood by better integrating housing, transportation, and jobs throughout Southern Nevada. Southern Nevada Strong is a $3.5 million regional planning effort. The project is grant-funded thanks in part to a partnership between the Department of Transportation, HUD, and EPA, who all recognized that in order to build stronger communities, they needed to look at metropolitan issues holistically. The grant was awarded to the SNRPC and is managed by the City of Henderson. I'd like to thank Councilman Coffin, who's the chair of the SNRPC, and Councilman Beers for their work on the SNRPC. And they are the governing body that will ultimately make decisions with regards to the grant and the process that we're involved with. Well, there are just over 100 national recipients for this grant funding, and as the Deputy Assistant Director of the Department of Transportation has said, it's actually easier to get into Harvard University than it is to get a Sustainable Communities grant. That just shows how competitive the environment is for federal grant money right now, and that there's a need among thriving communities for support for good jobs, better transportation systems connected to diversity and quality housing. We have an opportunity to forge a new way to plan here in Southern Nevada, to plan for the betterment of the entire valley, and to work together and to hear the voices from those folks who we always hear from and those that we seldom hear from as well. So why is this project significant? Well, it can lead to additional grant funding through the federal programming. It will give us access to funding from a variety of agencies that are working to integrate urban planning and development through investment in transit, smart growth, and housing. Currently, we're 53rd in the nation for federal grant money, which is just daunting, and we need to change those numbers. And obviously, you have to have the kind of programming and research and data gathering that's involved with this process to be able to access those funds. So in the future, we'll be able to put in for more grants because we have a solid community plan. So we're in the second year of a 3-year planning process, and during the first year, we worked on governance. We formed the consortium agreement. We had each of the entities adopt the agreement. Then we formed the consortium committee, which is the oversight committee for the process. We also formed task groups, and we had our kickoff event in February. And we're now in year 2, and we're seeking input in a variety of ways on all sorts of topics to ensure a thriving, resilient economy, healthy health, housing, transportation, economic development, and education, and the environment and public engagement as well. We're asking people about their long-term regional needs, such as mass transit and light rail. We're actively seeking input from the entire community on their needs and their priorities. The consortium committee adopted our public engagement plan, and we're out seeking input now. Key target audience for our outreach efforts are marginalized groups who don't often participate in traditional public meetings. We're partnering with UNLV, Brown University, and New York University to develop an ethnographic research program for us. And we have UNLV master's and PhD candidates who are out on the streets talking to citizens. We conducted a statistically valid survey in February, and we heard from the residents that jobs and quality education were their top priorities. We're now hosting a series of community open houses. And we have about 10 open houses scheduled between now until September, and we're offering all sorts of activities in both English and in Spanish. We're partnering with major employers like the MGM, and they are conducting all-day open houses covering all shift workers so that we can hear from their employees as well. We're using a go-to-them strategy to gather their input. And we've launched an online survey tool that I'll tell you more about in a few minutes. It's called MetroQuest. The process to create this plan is just as important as the plan itself. We've created task groups made up of leading professionals and community leaders to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses in land use planning and policy issues. The task groups provide specific recommendations to this consortium committee, and that committee is made up of elected officials, task group chairs, community leaders from service and employer sectors. The task groups are where the heavy lifting happens. They review the public input, research and analysis, and provide subject matter expertise to guide the plan's content. The plan will be submitted to the SNRPC for review, comment, and approval, likely in November, and then will go on to the local governments for adoption. Here's what the consortium committee looks like. They're made up of project champions that recognize the opportunity to develop a vision for the region, to improve the community through this one-time resource. We've been grateful to have the enthusiastic support and participation from Las Vegas's representatives on the consortium committee, and they include Councilman Barlow and his staff, as well as Orlando Sanchez. Thank you very much. We're also fortunate to have Councilman Coffin as the chair of the SNRPC and Councilman Beers. They are the ultimate approving body for this process. The implementation of the plan is putting the policy into action. I once heard a quote, "Planning is for staff, politics is for elected officials, and implementation is for the gods." Well, I don't believe that. I think we're all capable and play an important role in the implementation, and one key way to do this in the planning context is through demonstration projects. Through the initiative, we'll recommend site analysis for a few key sites to get closer towards implementation. These opportunity sites will showcase to better connect transportation, jobs, and housing, and apply the principles of projects to the ground. A more specific site plan, accompanied by scenario modeling for what could happen on a site, coupled with a community vision, will position these sites for redevelopment and for implementation. Historically, we create land use plans and codes, and then we wait for the developer or builder to come to us, and they often point out problems with our regulations to the point of making some otherwise desirable projects unfeasible. To offer balance, we look at the effects of regulations on the costs and the vision for these sites, and then through reverse planning, identify incentives, both direct and indirect, to make the project viable and to encourage the kind of dynamic quality places that our community deserves. This is just one tool in a suite of tools that we're creating in this process. There are 12 sites under consideration, and they are listed in your packet. Just a few of them are the Maryland Parkway Corridor, the Buena Vista Springs Apartments in North Las Vegas, and the Las Vegas Medical District. Each of these sites presents an opportunity to achieve a policy goal, whether it's supporting the medical district and the growing healthcare sector, which helps to diversify our economy and improve the quality of life for all of our residents. Or in the case of Maryland Parkway, to be positioned to be a vibrant urban corridor with a variety of districts and hubs from downtown to the airport, all connected by mass transit, activated by a transit-supported plan and land use strategy and pedestrian environment. Throughout my career as the director of the Lead Institute for Real Estate Studies at UNLV, I've seen and worked on the many benefits of community planning. Whether social, economic, or environmental, these are all mutually supporting concerns. But let's face it, a plan cannot implement itself. In order for it to not just sit on a shelf, we all have to play a role in the community as members, whether it's community members, staff, elected officials, to bring this plan to life. Together, we'll open up opportunities for additional federal grants and to be more competitive. Again, we're 53rd in the nation. That's just not an acceptable situation. Our proposals moving forward will be supported by hard data and analysis through this process. Well, no one can do this alone. We need the RTC for transit, the county and cities for land use strategy, the private sector for investment, education partners, and the LVGEA to diversify the economy, along with the many other partners and roles, all critical to making our region more economically competitive. Through the analysis that is supporting the creation of the regional plan, we'll create evaluation and measurement tools and spatial analysis. We'll highlight things like food deserts, or the density of fast food restaurants compared to fresh food grocery stores. We'll look at the relationships between place, health outcomes, and access to medical care. We'll look at economic and employment centers and land uses and amenities, including infrastructure, that is needed to target sectors and talent pools that they rely on. We'll look at transportation access. This kind of analysis will highlight decision-making opportunities that will make our jobs as elected officials easier and more data-driven. We've all been operating in silos for a very long time, and we need to realize that what happens in one locale affects the others. Examples of this are the I-11 bypass in Boulder City. While a Boulder City issue, it's clearly will have dramatic implications for the entire valley. Or Maryland Parkway corridor, while a Clark County issue, with its proximity to the airport and UNLV, it affects all of us. Or look at education. If we continue to be viewed as low-skilled and low-wage workforce, we won't be a hub for entrepreneurs or be able to support our local businesses to grow and expand. It won't matter that there's good schools here and there because statistics are overwhelmingly against us. The rebirth of downtown Las Vegas is inspiring for the region, but many regional policies and infrastructure investments have detracted from the urban infill development, making your jobs harder. Our region's dominant development patterns have been characterized by the outward movement of jobs, population, investment capital, and opportunity from cities and older suburbs to the fringes, like most of the nation. One troubling consequence of this is decentralization, and it is the isolation of low-income communities and residents of color in neighborhoods that lack the economic opportunities, services, and social networks critical to full participation in society. This condition is the result of public planning and development policies that have provided powerful incentives for suburban growth at the expense of central cities, older suburbs, and their low-income residents. Through this planning process, we want to ensure that individuals and families in all communities can participate in the benefits of economic growth and activity throughout the region. We need participation at all levels. We need Las Vegas to empower this project and to encourage public and staff support. You can start by having your own team get involved. Encourage your staff to participate and attend the community open houses in Las Vegas, and the schedule for those is in your packet. We held our first open house at the historic 5th Street School on July 16th, and thank you, Councilman Kaufman, for your attendance. We appreciate that. Our next event is in Las Vegas is at the East Las Vegas Community Center on September 19th, and it will be a Spanish-speaking event. We're also partnering with the Downtown Boys and Girls Club to host an event to get input from families and children that frequent the club. And you can also distribute the MetroQuest survey link to your contacts throughout the city. And about the MetroQuest, this is an online survey tool for people to review the preliminary priorities developed to date. That will be incorporated into the regional plan that will go to the SNRPC. People can give the priorities a thumbs up or a thumbs down. They can mark their favorite priority. They can add additional priorities. And they can also go to the Google Map application that's attached and rank the opportunity sites and prioritize their 3 highest sites. To close, I'd like to share what we heard from Mayor Scott Smith from Mesa, Arizona, one of the most conservative communities in America. He attended our kickoff event this past February, and I think it's worth reading. He said, "We recognize that we couldn't get people to notice us and invest unless we did something that was different, something that was unexpected, something that literally was deemed to be impossible. Amazing how many people change their perception. There's not going to be a whole lot of money coming out of Washington in the near future, but there is enough that you've got to be creative. We did a plan, an overall general plan for our Main Street corridor for 5 miles of light rail, and it was all paid for by the federal government through the Department of Energy. Now go figure. That $40 million federal investment spurred downtown urban housing. Multinational corporations have established headquarters there, and the once sleepy town is now a thriving economic center. Well, if they can do this in Mesa, we can sure do this in Southern Nevada. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to.
Thank you. Good job there. Thank you very much for the report. Comments, questions? Councilman Roth?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman, that was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Better than the one you gave me in my office.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous. I want to say this, globally, to my council and certainly your council, because I know they're fully aware of this, but even the members that sit on the SNRPC, keeping this kind of a secret, and now you just sharing it with us. We have got to, as governments, work closer together. You and I can talk about this all day long, because you and I have kind of been doing that on the Nevada League of Cities and the importance of all the cities in Nevada. But I think locally, all of the local governments need to have a much better relationship in going forward, not only for this, but for other reasons too, for the benefit of everybody in Southern Nevada. I'm starting to change the way I talk, instead of the city of Las Vegas, it's Southern Nevada. Everything we do as a city reflects on what Clark County does, North Las Vegas, Henderson, and I think the other local governments are also understanding that principle. They're electeds, I understand that. There's personality challenges, I understand that. But we've got to stay focused on the end game, and that's making life better for Southern Nevadans, and we continue to do that. So thank you very much for that presentation. I look forward to the next step.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to also add that Scott Smith, the mayor of Arizona, of Mesa, is now the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors.
Oh, wonderful.
Pardon?
That's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So his voice will be heard loud and clear, and lean on him.
We will. And, I think we have such great opportunity here, and working together collaboratively, we can build something so much more than what we have currently. So,
It's terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, please.
I just wanted to say, Deborah, that your report, which was excellent, also shows the hard work that's been done, and you've all done a great job. When I was on that SNRPC, we moved a little too slowly, and some of us were very concerned, and boy, have you picked up the speed and everything, and all of you working together like this. And I agree with Councilman Ross. We have to, and as you said, get rid of the silos, work together, and that's going to make us strong in every way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yes, Councilman Coffin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much for your compliments toward SNRPC, Deborah, and you're currently not sitting on it, but you were there for quite a long time. And the Southern Nevada Strong Project is a real extension of what's happening. When you look at the list of members of the board of Southern Nevada Strong, you realize how it projects the power of the local municipalities, then incorporating the business communities and other communities of interest. And it's really important because the SNRPC has very limited funding. As you know, we have no staff to speak of. Well, we have a little bit of support staff. A lot of it's coming from the city of Henderson lately. But all our planners participate, and a lot of ferment goes on behind the scenes. And so Southern Nevada Strong will bring it all out into the open. And particularly, I want to make sure that the public knows, and all of us know here, that we've changed our agenda. We have an agenda. We canceled our August SNRPC meeting so that we could have a joint meeting we've changed it, to have a joint meeting with Southern Nevada Strong, August 27th, over at the East Las Vegas Community Center. That's not the one that she referred to. That's going to be, the other one in September is going to be for Spanish-speaking people, so that although they most speak Spanish, most speak English, it's not their first language, and so it enables them to participate in the planning. So I'm looking forward to that meeting on the 27th, which Councilwoman March and I will co-chair, and I'm looking forward to anybody coming and watching and observing what they might think might be important for us to carry forward. I don't know if there's a public comment period associated with this. We looked at the agenda the other day, Deborah, but I don't recall that we set up one before and/or during at all. I think this is a participatory meeting.
Yes, there will be public comment at the conclusion.
Yeah, but we won't have public comment within the meeting. It will be participatory amongst all those people. So everybody's welcome to come and observe, and those who are on the committee and those who are on the board, we sure hope they'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Again, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, this is a report only, and no motion is required, so we'll move on to item 43. Public hearing and discussion for possible action regarding a new extended or modified collective bargaining agreement between the City of Las Vegas, a local government employer, and the Las Vegas Police Protective Association, LVPPA, an employee organization with a 2-year fiscal impact not to exceed $742,000. This is a public hearing, which I declare open. And Ms. Farwell.
Good morning, Mayor and members of the council. We have the third in a series of collective bargaining agreements here before you today, just by way of A reminder, we've already taken action on the corrections officers agreement and the fire employee agreement. So we've gotten those two completed. This is the third of the open agreements that have been under negotiation. So I wanted to just very quickly highlight what we've accomplished in this agreement. I know Dan will probably go into some additional detail. A good portion of the financial impact has already been budgeted. There's around $500,000 that will have some impact this year and some impact in the subsequent budget year. So I just wanted to clarify that piece of the puzzle for you as well. But I think it's important to kind of remember where we've been as it relates to our contract with our PPA marshals, both municipal court and detention and enforcement marshals. One, they were one of the first to really work with us to reach some resolution during the recession. And they did an incredible job to help stabilize the city. I think that's worth noting. The way they did that is that they did not take step increases, they did not have any COLA, and they stopped longevity. They also took a 4% pay cut. They agreed to covering their half of the PERS split. So there was no salary offset to cover that PERS split. And they reduced the wage scale by 14%. So these were not small changes. They were also not just stopping growth changes. These were pretty major adjustments to the pay and compensation package for our marshals. And I think that's important to point out. So in this deal that's before you today, this agreement, we would be restoring that 4% wage cut in the first year. In the second year, we would have a 1.5 wage adjustment. We would restart and restructure some of the benefits afforded to the marshals. We have a new employee benefit, which would reduce the caps for sick and annual leave by 50%. Which is a continuation of our efforts to create a new, sustainable, yet competitive new employee for our workforce going forward. And then we have several language changes that we worked through that are non-economic in impact over the course of 10 meetings that were conducted. I think this is a very good contract. It's about a $260,000 impact in each year over the 2 years, and it represents about 0.01% of our general fund budget, just to kind of put it in perspective, the magnitude of this. So 0.01% of our general fund budget.
One more time?
0.01% of our general fund budget.
Thank you.
So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll turn it over to Mr. Tarwater so he can go through the details of the agreement.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Farwell.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Dan Tarwater, Human Resources Director. I'd like to make a couple of introductions. First, we have John Dean Harper here with us today, who's the General Counsel for the union. Dave Compson, who is one of our marshals, who's the president, and Mike Yandrick. Hopefully they're here today. They've worked really hard with our team over multiple meetings and many hours. And then our team, which is Mike Scalzi, who's standing right next to me, Lynn Barboza out of my office, always Morgan Davis, who's our legal counsel. Can't do much without him in any of our efforts. And then the department itself, out of the court where the marshals are at. They spend a lot of time with us in preparation and many hours, and we too think this is a very good contract. The one thing I wanted to reiterate that Betsy said was, when you look in the newspapers, we find that many organizations are going through changes in their labor contracts, and you hear the words restoration or restarting and changing. But there are not many contracts similar to the one we have in front of us today where the groups actually took reductions in pay. Many of them maybe had them frozen, but they didn't have, many of the groups never had reductions. A 4% reduction in pay is huge. So I just wanted to reiterate that for the record. This is a public hearing and requires us to go through what the monetary changes are. And with that, I'm going to introduce Mike Scalzi.
Good morning, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Michael Scalzi, Human Resources, Labor Relations. I'm going to go through the items that you see before you. Betsy did kind of cover them in greater detail, so I'll just kind of summarize and go through those particular items. I also wanted to, before we start, Dan thanked most of the folks, but I don't want to forget Chief Freeman and her staff. They provided all of the operational support to us for the negotiations, along with Jack Manning, who covered the Marshall side, and also Maggie Plaster, who was assigned to us as a developmental opportunity, so I'm sure she enjoyed the negotiations.
And if I may interrupt, I think I see in the back Marshall Compson, who has, please come forward. You were mentioned in gratitude for the many hours and help that you spent working positively with the group, so we just welcome you.
Hi, Dave. Dave and Mike Andrick provided the lead support on the negotiations team for the PPA, so we're glad to have them, and they did a great job of selling the agreement, so they have to be given a lot of credit for the agreement.
Mrs. Mayor and Council, thank you all very much for your time today. I appreciated working with staff. As usual, everybody's very professional. Thank you very much.
And for our record, if you'd mention your name.
Sorry.
Please.
David Compson, City Marshal.
Thank you. And one moment, please. Absolutely, Councilman Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Dave, while you're still standing up there, I personally, from me, want you to reflect to your membership how important it was at the time in the city's history, and Councilman Tarkanian and I were here for those very hard days when we knew where our budget was going, we knew where the economy was going and how it was going to impact the citizens of this city. And I just want you to reflect to your membership how much that means for me that you guys took that 4% reduction way back then. I know it was hard. It was emotional. It was challenging for all of your members and for the employees here at the City of Las Vegas. So I just want to extend my appreciation to you and your membership for that.
Thank you, Councilman Ross.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think that statement reflects the entire city, staff, everybody. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you.
Okay, I'll take a minute to run through the details of the agreement. This is a 2-year contract, so it begins in June of 2013. Will expire at the end of June 2015. There are 2 base wage components, one in the first year and one in the second year. The first year base wage increase is 4%, and as Betsy indicates, that is a restoration or return of the amount that was physically given up by these folks at one time in 2010. So we physically took 4% from them. Since that time, they've also experienced a PERS share decrease of 1.375% in 2011 and another 0.375% in this year. So we will restore that 4%. The increase, however, will not be given to the 8 most recently hired folks because we just hired them. In year 2, we have a base wage increase of 1.5% that will be applied to everyone, and that's the same amount that we also negotiated with our other 2 bigger units, fire and POA. So we were consistent in that regard. Their step wage increases will resume. It's evergreen language, so that will resume in July of 2013. However, 42 of their folks in their bargaining unit are already topped out, so they won't really receive another step increase because they're already at the top. Longevity also, Betsy spoke to this. There will no longer be longevity for any new hires in this bargaining unit, nor will the 8 recently hired folks receive longevity. Uniform allowance, this is a maintenance allowance that we provide for maintaining the uniforms, and that will continue. It used to be annualized. Now we're going to do it on a quarterly basis, so it'll be $350 per quarter for these folks to maintain their uniforms. Annual leave cap, as Betsy indicated also, this bargaining unit agreed that their accrual will cap at 250 hours. That's the same as that we have for our executive and appointeds, and it's a number that we wanted to go to try to be consistent across the city. Sick leave cap, again, as Betsy indicates, they reduced by 50%. So their accrual used to be 840 hours. Now the maximum accrual will be 420 hours. So again, significant future savings. and that will apply also to the 8 recently hired folks. Sick leave bonus, we made a change in this category. I spoke to this last time with regard to POA. Our belief is that we ought to, if it's a sick leave bonus, then we ought to reward attendance. And so for these folks, we will provide a sick leave bonus. It's going to be paid in cash versus days or hours. It's going to be $1,500, but it's only going to be for up to 1 full day of absence. So it can only be for up to 10 hours of absence from work for that bonus to be paid. In the past, we paid up to 4 days absence. So again, I thought it sends the right message, and for those folks that come to work, we're going to reward them. Disability, we did renounce our past practice of salary continuation on workers' comp cases beyond the 240 hours that are negotiated. That is in compliance with state workers' comp law. After that, we would pay at a rate of 66 2/3%. Holiday leave, similar to the POA unit, we wrote a little bit more restrictive language so that a person has to be in paid status the day before and the day after the holiday in order to get paid for the holiday. Other leave, we did make a change in this category of military leave to be consistent with our recently changed city policy. We changed it last year in accordance with the state requirement of 15 days. It used to be 30. Promotions, we did write some new promotional language. It's something that Mr. Thompson felt very strongly about, and I thought the language turned out pretty well. So we did expand that language. It's a little bit more specific. I think it gives better guidance to these folks, so I thought that worked out real well. And reduction in force on our RIF recall list, that will be in effect now for 36 months instead of 48. So in other words, if we were to have a reduction in force, a person's name would remain on that list for 36 months. It used to be 48 months. So the value, when you add those all up, the unbudgeted portion, as Betsy indicated, comes out to a little more than $500,000. And she indicated to you that that does represent about 0.01% of our general fund. So we're asking for your approval. We think it's a very good agreement. It was overwhelmingly ratified by the membership, and so we're asking for your support.
Good work, and thank you. It is a public hearing, and Ms. Fretwell, you wanted to make a comment, please.
Mayor, if you want to go ahead and take the public comment, if there is any, that would be great. And then I need to make a real quick disclosure on the record and have Morgan read something in the record regarding this agreement.
Okay. So let's move forward with the public comment portion of this. Please come to the microphone. Be sure to state your name, please.
Is this on? Morning, Mayor, members of council. John Dean Harper, General Counsel for the Las Vegas Police Protective Association. Most of what I wanted to say has been said already. The agreement has been ratified overwhelmingly by our membership. We're asking you today to go ahead and do the same. I wouldn't be a union attorney if I didn't say I wasn't completely overjoyed with this, but you know, we are realists. Been doing this for 15 years and things change. So I want to again reiterate what was said earlier. Working with the city, I can tell you I've done a lot of negotiations with a lot of groups in this state, and it's wonderful working with the city. They're professional, respectful, and you know, we always have the same goal in mind, which is to help the citizens of the city, help the public employees, you know, help the state of Nevada. So it's just, again, it's a pleasure working with this group. I want to thank my team, Dave Compson, Mike Yandrick, the rest of them, Matt Triplett, Steve Lumpkin, and Alicia Martino. They did great work, a lot of work behind the scenes on this. So again, we'd ask you to approve this. Thank you.
That means you love Las Vegas, and that's what we care about for all of us. Thank you very much. Anyone else, please come forward and state your name.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Paul Morakin with Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Chamber. The Chamber would like to thank, first of all, the City Manager and Director of HR for providing great transparency documents on the website. The summary is very easy to use. It's very clear where the cost savings are, the provisions, and we also like to thank them for providing the contract. That is a great way of raising transparency of the community, and you guys are helping lead those efforts, so thank you very much to the City Manager and to the HR Director. Regarding the contract itself, as it's been stated, these are great cost savings. The county had a similar item yesterday, and the elimination of longevity pay for them on one particular segment group was cost savings of $45 million for the next 30 years. So these are significant savings for the city and a great approach. And the city has done a very good job of eliminating longevity pay for future hires. I think you're the first jurisdiction to actually eliminate all of them for all your contracts, and it's a huge achievement. At the same time, though, that would not be possible without your unions working with you, and it's very important to recognize those efforts by the marshals for giving those cuts in the last couple of years. And the restoration of pay is different from salary increase, and they should be recognized for their efforts and working with city staff and coming to the table, helping the city close out its budget in the last few years, and the chamber definitely appreciates that. Also, the cap on the annual leave and sick time, that's very significant. And again, that is great collaboration with city staff and the union, and the chamber thanks everyone for that, and also the council for providing that direction. So thank you very much.
Thank you for recognizing the leadership that we have in our staff and council. It really is significant, and I know we can get our arms around ourselves, but to be recognized by Metro Chamber is very, very significant. And I hope all of you who've worked so hard on this know and pat yourselves on the back and smile in the mirror. Thank you, Paul. Any other comments? I'll close the public hearing. And about the disclosure, Betsy.
Mayor, as we have mentioned and distributed to you as a result of briefings, there is a recent court case determined by the Supreme Court related to the Sparks Municipal Court and its rights under the Constitution as it relates to our charter, et cetera. That does have an impact on bargaining and 288 and its application in the courts. And so I've asked Morgan Davis to read into the record a statement today, and hopefully there will be a letter of transmittal from Chief Judge Burt Brown early next week regarding this matter. So I'll turn it over to Morgan to read that statement in the record.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Morgan Davis, Chief Deputy City Attorney. As Betsy's indicated, I'm reading what I'm titling a reservation of rights to protect municipal court. A recent ruling of the Nevada Supreme Court has reaffirmed some certain basic legal tenets. These points recognize that the Las Vegas Municipal Court has inherent authority to manage its own personnel and to make personnel decisions for its employees, as long as those decisions and the exercise of that authority is consistent with the budget as appropriated by the city. NRS Chapter 288 of Nevada Revised Statutes, collective bargaining means a method of determining conditions of employment. These conditions of employment need to be negotiated between representatives of the city and local government associations. The City of Las Vegas is a local government employer under Chapter 288. It is believed that the Las Vegas Municipal Court is not an employer under the provisions of Chapter 288. The City of Las Vegas has historically entered into collective bargaining agreements pursuant to Chapter 288 that are purported to cover and affect the terms and conditions of employees of the Las Vegas Municipal Court. While the court is not governed by Chapter 288, and it's conceivable that they wouldn't be required to negotiate contracts, it is believed that they could voluntarily do so and subject themselves to 288. As a result of that recent Sparks decision, we just wanted to make clear we're weighing through options in the future, and we didn't want today's vote by council be viewed as permanently reflecting an agreement by the municipal court that they're a local government employer. The collective bargaining agreement here today for you to be considered covers Las Vegas Municipal Court employees, and the municipal court would be expressly stating that the actions that you're taking and ratifying it is not an express agreement by them in the future that they would be covered by Chapter 288. Rather, the Las Vegas Municipal Court will continue to review the recent ruling of the Supreme Court. They're going to be very deliberate in their decisions. Collectively with the city managers, they're going to make some analysis over the coming months and decide if and anything needs to change or the status quo is good for them. But in the interim, this ruling by you approving the contract, I hope, is not viewed as a sign-off by the municipal court that they're a party covered by 288. It's expressly stated that they're reserving the right to do something in the future if that time comes.
And we don't need to separate that out and make a separate motion, that we reserve that right?
No.
And how did this get in front of the Supreme Court in the first place?
Sparks, City of Sparks had an issue between their municipal court and their manager that wound its way through the court system. The decision itself, Mr. Jerbig and I are of the belief it's not really new law, that certain beliefs have been that way for a number of years, but the decision came out about 3 months ago, I think. Wound its way up to the Supreme Court. Kind of caught a lot of people by surprise in the valley, but put a lot of people on edge. So we're not the only jurisdiction having to deal with this, and we have communicated with all of our labor groups. We're going to make a very deliberate decision. There's a lot of things that could be in play if we're going to do anything that changes the historical status quo. We are going to enter into the contract, hopefully that you approve, but it's not a signal that the municipal court is saying we are a 280 employer. If the time in the future comes they want to do something different, they're reserving the right to do that.
I'm assuming then that the Supreme Court had to make this comprehensive for the state rather than just picking a municipality and say, in this municipality, the municipal court can be separated out. It has to be comprehensive for the state for every single jurisdiction?
Legally speaking, the decision strictly relies on the facts in front of it, and it was a dispute between the City of Sparks and the Municipal Court of Sparks. There are some consistent guidelines when referring to the Nevada Constitution. The Sparks Charter in some places may be a little different than ours, so those are some of the things that we're weighing through. It applies specifically to the City of Sparks, but you can see clearly what the Supreme Court's thinking was, which is why we want to deliberately go through it and make sure we're not stepping on any landmines.
Thank you. It's very significant that we understand that. It's on the record. Thank you very much. Good point. So at this point, any comments from council? Questions, anything? Okay. Let's go ahead. Is there a motion, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Thank you very much. This motion, please vote. And please post. Thank you. Thank you, all parties. Great time. Great. And we will now move on to item number 44, discussion for possible action regarding acceptance of Strong Cities, Strong Communities Challenge SC2 grant award of $1 million to the United States Economic Development Administration, EDA, for increasing the number of jobs for Las Vegas residents, which requires a City of Las Vegas match contribution to $250,000. This is in reference to all wards. I see we have both Mr. Harson and Mr. Knudsen here.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Steve Harson, Director of Parks, Rec, and Neighborhood Services. This agenda item is actually on the program Strong Cities, Strong Communities, and accepting a $1 million grant with a match of $250,000. With that, Brian Knudsen, who's the Division Manager in PRNS, has been working on this program, and he's going to give you an overview or presentation of what it's all about.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mayor, members of the City Council. Brian Knudsen with the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. This morning, I have the opportunity to talk to you about the Strong Cities, Strong Communities Grant Program Challenge with the Economic Development Administration. It's a different kind of grant, and it's going to take me a few minutes to kind of walk through the steps of it. So I'm going to walk through a presentation that has all of the steps, and then if it's okay with you, Mayor, we'll open it up for questions. We were one of 3 cities, Hartford, Connecticut, and Greensboro, North Carolina, along with Las Vegas, were the 3 cities selected as a winner of a $1 million grant program with the Economic Development Administration. The goal of the program is to strengthen communities by enhancing capacity of local governments, really focused on encouraging job growth and the diversification of economies within the United States, and piloting a new program with 3 new cities. The grant is a planning and strategic guidance grant to execute an economic vision and strategies for a city. It's a $1 million grant, and there's several steps that we'll walk through if the award is accepted. First off, we would launch a challenge into the community, both locally and nationally, in cooperation with the EDA and the 2 other cities participating. We would do an RFP and select a marketing firm to help us manage and market the program. Their job would be to create a logo, a slogan, and promote the campaign and help us organize a team of people to select and choose winners for this grant challenge. The goal, like I said, is to create jobs in a variety of different areas. We started out with this program with the intent of implementing a challenge. We've been working closely with the Economic Development Administration to narrow it down to something that we think would be more strategic and create greater opportunity for business growth within Las Vegas. To that end, we chose 4 different areas we thought would have the highest amount of potential: Cashman Field, the Medical District, Business Park Development, and any existing RDA projects that we may not have thought of. The intent of the $1 million grant is to encourage job growth within one of those 4 areas. How we roll out this grant challenge is, once it's marketed to the community, both locally and nationally, we would encourage teams, multidisciplinary teams of people, to identify or submit proposals that would help us build capacity within our local business climate, build jobs, create jobs. We'd also identify an evaluation team of experts, 10 individuals in the community, who would identify the top 3 proposals. Of those top 3 proposals, the first round of monies would go towards the first, second, and third place, $60,000 for the first place winner, $30,000 for the second place winner, and $10,000 for the third place winner. Those monies are encouraged to build upon an existing plan that they've already submitted. The second piece of that competition is forming an additional selection committee of experts who would then go forward with a second round competition. The second round competition would identify the plan that has the most amount of potential to create the most amount of jobs in one of those 4 areas we talked about, and the winner of that competition would receive $800,000. The different point of this grant program is there are no strings attached to that $800,000. It's a check, free and clear, from the city, from the grant program to the winner of that challenge. With that, I'm going to move on to the, excuse me.
I have to ask you a question on that one. That's too good.
Yeah.
What if that $800,000, in reference to their submittal to the committee, it does have to go towards executing that, or no?
So we spent the better part of the last 6 months working with the Economic Development Administration on that exact point. They're holding the line. They will not let that money go towards implementation. That money will only be used as a cash prize. So I want to add up the money for you. So we had a $1 million grant challenge. $100,000 goes towards management and marketing of the program. $100,000 goes towards the first round of prizes, the first, second, and third round prize. The $800,000 is the final grand prize. At that point, the city is committed to $250,000, which is already invested in projects at your discretion in the capital projects campaign for those projects. And at the end of the grant program challenge, the city would invest the $250,000 to further develop those plans. That would be the conclusion of the grant program.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem has a question, please.
Yeah, actually, you explained it pretty well. And I know you briefed us on Monday on this, and when I first saw it, and I have to couch this with Brian, I know a big part of your job is to go out and find grants, federal grants, state grants, and I know Councilwoman Marsh said this morning we're 43rd in the amount of federal grants that we come in as far as the states are concerned. So we're way behind the 8 ball as far as getting money back from the federal government. So when I first saw this $1 million, that's great. I mean, we're going to get $1 million, do some economic development. But I was kind of shocked at the way the money's spent. I mean, basically what we're doing is we're accepting $1 million to give out $900,000 of prizes. And what's even more shocking is that the $800,000 that we give to somebody, they could go down to San Diego and buy a beach house with it. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that tells me how the federal government is so messed up and how we're $16 trillion in debt because of stuff like this. So it just floors me. I would just assume send $1 million back to the federal government and say put it towards a $16 trillion debt and help them out a little bit. So, I mean, there's no way I can support something like this. I know you worked really hard on it. I know this is what you try to do, but this is just, this is crazy stuff to me. I mean, it really is. So I'm not going to be able to support the grant. Thank you.
Can you help us understand how to justify it? What our focus should be is looking at the fact that we're getting a federal grant to take us from number 53 or 43 in the grant process. You need to wave your flags.
Thank you, Mayor. So there are two areas that we focused on over the last 6 months when working with the Economic Development Administration. One, that $800,000 prize was a shock to us as well, and we really spent quite a bit of time talking about that. They've been working with consultants, and they believe that this is a pilot project. They think it will yield great results. The second piece that I think we brought up over the last 6 months is that while the City of Las Vegas is paying $250,000 as a match commitment, and the grand prize total is $1 million, what happens on the back end is we're getting a bunch of different plans. So the anticipation of this project is that it won't be just one plan that becomes how the city moves forward. We're accepting plans and proposals from a variety of different teams, and all of those plans and proposals become public record. They become our plans going forward. So whether or not the person wins the competition, we have a variety of plans going forward.
Thank you. I see we have someone that's going to make some comments, and I'm going to put you on the hot spot in a second. So I don't know if that's right, but we'll wait and see what this gentleman has.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Scott Adams, the Deputy City Manager. I've been working very closely with Brian on this. In fact, I've been in most of the calls with EDA and the White House, and we expressed a lot of the same concerns you did. But I think at the end of the day, if you think about this intuitively, we're promoting and stimulating a competition around a number of areas designed to implement our new economic development strategic plan. And I think Brian's laid some of those out very well, the medical district, business park development, Cashman Center. And we're going to get proposals from all across the community and maybe even nationally. It could be that we get development companies from outside this community look at the opportunity at Cashman Center and say, we'd like to be a part of that. This gives them the opportunity to enter into a competition, and if they make that short list, we provide some remuneration through the grant to help them formulate those plans and strategies. And while we can't force them, this has been an issue with us, with EDA and the White House, we can't make it mandatory that they use that grant for implementation. And certainly there's the specter that they could take it to the Bahamas and sit on a beach with it. They most likely would roll it into some form of implementation. We just can't tell them they have to do that. Let me use the business park development as an example. We're in this downturn in the real estate economy. There could be a number of major landowners that look at an opportunity to say, we'd like to work with the city on developing a business park on a 200 or 300 or 400 acre tract within the city. This gives us a chance to help pay our front end costs to get that thing up and running in concert in a partnership with the city. So I know it's been a very hard one to get our arms around because it is not the traditional federal grant program where we get the grant and there's a whole bunch of rules that come with it. There's just a few rules that were designed by the White House, and they had an advisor on competitiveness help advise them on how to put this program together. The reason for that is to stimulate as much competition and to get as many proposals as possible. I mean, it's very difficult to understand because it is not your typical federal grant program.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman, please don't go yet, though. Councilwoman Tarkanian?
Basically, the right to all of the plans goes to the city. We're paying $250,000, but every single plan that is admitted, is it then become our property?
That's correct. It becomes the property of the city and the EDA.
You know, I also question, as Councilman has pointed out, the way this is done because it seems really strange. But if we take it or not, somebody's going to get it, number one. Number two, what we're paying for is ideas. That's what our $250,000 is, paying for the ideas that we might be able to use. And if you did it, to tell you the truth, it might cost $250,000 or more to have had somebody come up with those ideas if we were paying them. So I can see where it's of benefit to us. It's strange, but I can see because of the ideas. And we can use them or not use them or tinker with them or do whatever, but they become our property. That's correct?
Right.
And I think that's what it is. I think that the government wants us to get people interested in doing this, and that's why they're offering these prizes. And Bahamas or whatever, they're offering it. And but on the other hand, we get to have the everything they've put into the planning, all the ideas, everything becomes our property, and I think that's of benefit to us.
If I could add one more comment, I think another way we looked at it, because we struggled with it as well, and when we finally got the EDA and White House to accept channeling the program into those initiatives that we had already funded, in fact, those matches that Brian laid out are ones that are already in our budget that you've already approved. It seemed to make more sense, because when you flip it around and you have to ask yourself the question, are we going to get $250,000 of benefit to the city of Las Vegas in plans, strategies, and ideas for our local match? Because really what we're out of pocket on this is the match. We're going to get remunerated for our staff time. We're going to have the grant cover that. We're going to get covered for the administrative costs. So what we're really putting up is $250,000. So we said we think we'll get $250,000 clearly of benefit out of this program back to the city. But even more, I think we're going to get way more than $1.2 million when you look at the competition and what it could stimulate.
Mayor?
If it's all right with you, Councilman Barlow, Councilman Ross was
Oh,
first
sorry.
on, sorry. Go, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, and not to make any comments directly about what you just said, Mr. Adams, I think globally, and Councilman, I sense your frustration because it's the same thing that both, I think all three of us asked in our briefing, does that money, go towards a project? Does that money have some strings attached to it? And Mr. Knudsen, you're right on spot that it's not. And that concerned me a great deal too. But Councilman Anthony's frustration over the federal government and how the things are going that direction, we all feel it. We're on the same page with you. But I got to tell you this. I think we should get every penny we possibly can from the federal government that's going to help this community, whether the winning team goes to the Bahamas or the winning team stays at the Mirage. I think that $1 million is important to get into this community. Now, something you pointed out, Mr. Knudsen, is 3 cities were recipients of this throughout the country. I think that's important to note because it is a different type of grant. This is an opportunity. And you're talking about, our investment, our out-of-pocket costs. I guess I will speak to your comments. I think it's worth it. I think $250,000 and new ideas and bright ideas and bringing those brainiacs into this city is a good thing. And if the federal government wants to put up $1 million for it and we put up our share, I think it's the right thing to do and head in that direction. Do I think it's a little crazy, Councilman Anthony? Absolutely. Absolutely I do. But it's there, it exists, and I think we need to take advantage of it. I don't want to, Mayor, with your permission, I don't want to put Mr. Morell and Mr. Muradkin already left from the chamber. I want to get the chamber's thought on this because I think it's going to help with that spurring of economic development. Mr. Muradkin, I hate to put the Mayor, with your permission, I hate to put you on the spot, Paul. How do you feel about this grant? How's the chamber feel? Do you need time to reflect? Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, and we'll hear from Councilman Barlow's comment while Mr. Muradkin's taking a look and seeing what he can come up with there.
I'm not sure if Mr. Muradkin heard anything that you said. He just walked back in the door. But glad to see you here. And I look at the scenario that has been brought before us from a cost versus benefit ratio. And the questions that we asked yesterday in our briefing, during our briefing, and we all were shocked, was the fact of the windfall of what the winner will receive from the plans that they bring forward. So the question that I have, that I asked yesterday, I'll ask again today, how many plans do we project to have participate in this process? A projected number.
Councilman, I don't know if I can answer a prediction. What I can answer is that over the last 6 months, as we've been talking with other representatives in the community and talking to the EDA, within our community, there's been a significant amount of interest from the Nevada System of Higher Education to the UMC Hospital to private nonprofit organizations to UNLV professors who have an idea and they want the opportunity to bring that forward.
So let's go from the standpoint of how many interested parties you've come in contact with. We can just start there.
I would say there's probably 6 credible.
6 credible? And if we were to pay for 6 different plans from 6 credible entities in the Las Vegas community, what could that number run the city of Las Vegas if in fact we were to put a plan like that together? Scott?
That could be several $1 million.
Right. My point exactly. And so therefore, looking at the amount of money that the city of Las Vegas is looking to invest, what we receive in return is far greater than what we're putting out as a city as far as a $250,000 match, correct? Would you agree?
Yep.
On the flip side, the federal dollars were specifically earmarked for brain trust as far as individuals coming in and laying out a systematic plan that could benefit cities, correct? And with thousands of cities having, currently sitting on the National League of Cities, along with my colleague Councilman Ross, there's thousands of cities throughout the U.S. and 3 cities in the nation, Las Vegas being one of them, to be the recipient of this particular grant, right?
Correct.
So that within itself tells me that we put together a solid application that the nation is looking at. So therefore, we have 6 credible, interested parties that will cost the city of Las Vegas several millions of dollars to receive some critical information that can be very beneficial to the economic development, the employment, and we all know here in Nevada, the employment rate is higher than what we would like. It will give us an opportunity to use these plans, being that, as you stated on the record, from the question that came from my colleague, Councilwoman Tarkanian, will we be the recipient of all of those studies? Irregardless of who the winner is. I'll take that a step further. Irregardless of who the winner is, the ultimate winner of the $800,000, will we receive all of the applications that are submitted or the submittals? Is that
yes
accurate?
Correct. Yes.
And so that $800,000, I mean, when you look at the scheme of things, we actually win as a city for $250,000 because that $800,000 is basically to get the brain trust of the community to come together, because it will cost them time and labor to pull all that together. So therefore, I don't see a problem with it. As a matter of fact, I wish I could be one of the ones to submit a proposal, and I said it yesterday and I'll say it again publicly, to get involved in that, because I wouldn't mind winning that $800,000 specifically if I had to put my brain juices to work to come up with a plan that can benefit the city as a whole. I see it as a win-win for the entire community, because as residents of this community, that money will go, at least a great portion, I believe, will go back into the Nevada economy. And so I'm most definitely on board, and I support it. And I thank you for working on you and your entire committee, Brian, for working on this application and bringing this forward and systematically walking us through it, because the same questions that you all had with the White House and the EDA were the same questions I'm pretty sure we were asking you all. And I see Scott smiling, which basically lets me know that it's true. But I support it, and I say let's move full steam ahead and work this out and see what we can come up with for the greater good of the city of Las Vegas as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. What I interrupted you because you're halfway through your presentation, which I want you to complete, but Councilman Coffin did have a question or a comment.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Your Honor. This, in essence, we are one of 3 cities that won a nationwide competition. And all the other cities, and I think the other 2 winners are cities that are cities of note. What are they again? One is in North Carolina?
Hartford, Connecticut, and Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay, these are well-known towns with advanced governmental structures and histories. Now we get it out to the West Coast, the only city on the West Coast, west of the Mississippi, that won. And I think that the fact that we own all the plans, we in essence own all the ideas that are submitted, and that $800,000 plum is going to attract the best minds in the country. And they aren't going to spend it on a beach house in Hawaii or San Diego. They're going to spend it on their business, which is generating ideas, whoever wins. They are idea people. We pay them for ideas, and we will get all their ideas without reservation. I think that's a good thing. And if this city needs something, for sure, it's ideas from outside. It's new ideas. We learn to progress this way. That's why when you look at some of the best commissions and committees around here, many of the people on them are people who are fairly newly arrived, let's say living here 5 and 10 years, because they're bringing their very best experience. So I do not see a downside to this. And at first glance, it looked like, well, maybe this is some free money we should turn back to, and I didn't hear it expressed the other day about reducing the federal debt, but trust me, some other city wants this real bad, and they'd be happy to take it, whoever was 4th. But I don't want the 4th best city in the country to take it. I want the 3rd best, the best that qualified. We are one of the top 3. Hell, we might have been number 1, for all I know. The point is that we've got a good chance to take this. And we're a state that has no federal money to speak of. We're just barely above a donor state here. We just barely have it. We don't own 85% of our state, so we're always looking for ways to get money from the federal government to help pay us for the expense of watching and supervising much of that land. So here's a way to get something for the best city in the state of Nevada, and now to be recognized as one of the best cities, to be trusted with this kind of money, I think is a remarkable endorsement, a very remarkable endorsement by people around this country, the top people and the idea people. And we are going to be swamped with the very best that are going to want this to earn the shot at this prize, Your Honor.
Thank you. Let's continue with the presentation, please.
There's just 2 more slides, should be relatively quickly. Should you accept the award, there's a timeline on the grant. It's 18 months. Here at the city, we'll assemble the very best of the city staff to manage the process. We'll work with a marketing and advertising firm to promote the challenge over the first phase. And then the challenge will consist of 10 months. After that, there'll be an evaluation period, and the second phase will last 5 months. At the end of the 18 months is when the grant competition ends. So that's the timeline. And for people who may want additional information on this challenge, there's a website. It's www.eda.gov/SC2challenge. That would conclude this presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, are you in favor of this or not in favor? I think that's the other thing, because I think we've covered everything, Mr. Muradkin, in order of deference to Councilman Ross, and then Councilman Anthony had another comment. And, oh my goodness, trouble down there. And we also are going to hear from Councilman Beers, too. So in order to move this along, please.
Absolutely. Paul Murakin for Las Vegas Metro Chamber. I'll keep it very brief. From the chamber perspective, we support workforce development programs that are efficient and make sure that those dollars, most of those dollars will go directly to the client, those services. So if this grant is within the parameter of the city mission and its goal and its main core, then that would make sense for the city, but that's a decision for the council if that fits into your master plan of economic development and workforce development. You're welcome.
And I loved your brevity. Thank you very much. Succinct, well done. All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clear up a couple of comments I made. First of all, the $250,000 that would be the match, that's already in the budget. That's already allocated, and it's allocated to move along projects that are listed on here: Cashman Center, the Medical District, Business Park, other RDA. So that money can be spent right now, and I support that. We need to do that. But if the $800,000, for your example, the winner was UNLV, and that money went back to UNLV, so they could do things at UNLV in the city of Las Vegas, I'm on board. I'm for it. But to take the taxes that I pay personally to give to the winner, where they could go out and buy a Ferrari and a refrigerator and do whatever they want with it, I can't support that. I mean, that doesn't sound right to me, to allow taxpayer dollars to be spent that way. So that's the rub for me in this particular case. And I understand all the things that you've said, but I think we can come up with pretty good plans with the $250,000 already in the budget to move some of these projects along. So I just want to clear that up. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Councilman Beers.
Thank you, Your Honor. I, have thought about the status of our being a donor state, the percentage of the money we pay to the federal government we get back. A couple things to consider there. Our two largest military bases in the state are both training bases, and probably a third of the senior level people and everybody actually that's assigned there are technically assigned to some other state because they're here for training. And so they don't reflect in those statistics for the economic impact of federal spending in Nevada, and perhaps they should, and that would raise us, I think, significantly. So I'm not terribly compelled by that argument. I asked myself if we'd had some trouble attracting proposals, and I don't think we have. Cashman Field, we've technically got nothing to offer yet, and yet we're currently being flooded with proposals for people who have ideas of what to do with Cashman Field. So I don't see that we've had a problem attracting ideas for any of these things at all. Like Mayor Pro Tem Anthony, if this money were going to be spent in the local economy, that would be one thing. But in fact, this money may not be spent. And in fact, it's quite likely that it won't. We don't have very many details now on what the judging process is going to be, what the criteria is going to be for success. Somebody's going to win, but there's absolutely no guarantee that they're going to even be from here, much less decide to spend their proceeds here. Next, I tried to apply my common sense to the federal government saying that they have an extra $1 million. Frankly, they're lying. They don't. And it's not taxpayer money, they're just printing them up right now. So that's a problem for me philosophically. And finally, the fourth point I got to is when the federal government says they've got a program to enhance local governments. Now, let me think about that for a minute. The federal government has a program to enhance local governments. To the best of my knowledge, in 225 or pushing 250 years, the only time the federal government comes with a program to enhance local government is when it serves the federal government's purposes. For example, the early history of the city of Las Vegas included significant federally funded infrastructure for our city because it served their interest to service the Nellis Air Force Base complex. I don't see that they have a similar self-interest in this program, which again comes back to where I ended up with at the contemplation of them having an extra $1 million sitting around. They're probably lying. And finally, we had some discussion at our meeting earlier in the week about what the uses of all this money were going to be, and it was kind of vague and amorphous, and the final follow-up answer was also vague and amorphous. So I'm with Mayor Pro Tem Anthony opposing this. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Barlow.
Thank you. The more I sit back and think about this, in the scheme of things, and Betsy, I'm sure you can appreciate this as our city manager, we've had programs, and I believe still to this day, where we provide incentives to employees that can save the city money as far as streamlining and collaborating efforts that save departments' budgets. True?
Yes, sir.
And for that, we provide incentives to those employees that do that. And what are just some of the incentives that we've provided employees for not only bringing them before the mayor and council during ceremonial, but what are some other incentives have we provided those employees for saving the city's budgets and revenues, increasing our revenues?
Well, we have an Employee of the Month recognition program, and we have a team recognition program for everything from dollar-saving ideas to excellent performance, above and beyond performance, things that go beyond individuals' job descriptions. And we recognize them monetarily, we recognize them with time, and we actually have business partners that provide forms of remuneration in the form of gift cards, et cetera, or donations on their behalf, given their work quality and their recognition for that work quality. So that it takes a variety of different forms and
Right.
is rated on a variety of different scales, if you will.
And we have used city's tax dollars to do that, right?
Yes, we have.
Okay. So that's just at the city level, at the municipal level. So when I magnify this and I look at, for example, the federal government's budget, in the scheme of things, the smaller number coming back to the municipal level, the smaller number of what we inject as a reward for our city employees, I look at that on a federal level when you comparison the 800,000 versus the federal dollars. That's a very small number, just as that number is small to the municipal level as far as the reward for entities such as those that we're looking to come before us in the future with their brain trust of basically designing plans that could ultimately impact the city at a greater level, greater than the $1 million that is being offered through the grant, greater than the $250,000 match, because of the plans that we can ultimately receive, in upwards of 6 credible plans that we can look at and basically implement that could impact this community on a major scale, which could, going back to Mr. Adams' point, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars that we receive. So if we're going to be that great city, Mayor, that we talk about, we can't think small. We have to think big. And I believe that this is a great seed that has been planted and a great opportunity for us to be that vibrant city that we speak about in our mission statement. If you think small, you can only expect small things in return. But if you think big, then, and you're willing to take that chance and plant as many seeds as possible, I believe that you have a greater opportunity at a greater harvest at the end of the day. And I believe the seed that's being planted here before us will give us an opportunity to at least take a chance in the sense of having a greater harvest when it comes to all of those great minds coming together for a very small prize in comparison to the overall federal budget. And I think it's just a great opportunity that we've stumbled across, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure you didn't stumble across that, but thank you for bringing it to us, because I think this is a great opportunity for us to be outside the box and spread our wings and bring in a level of attention as well as a greater opportunity for us to really be that vibrant city that we push and that we talk about in our mission statement. Thank you.
Thank you. I have some questions, which either of you may answer. But first of all, the process of selecting the committee. Will we know, may we know, and you don't have to answer that right now, but either yes or no, can the council know how that process of selecting the committee happens? That's one. And how you select it. The process of selecting the prioritized winners, what is that process, and what is the criteria, which hangs me up? Feeling the frustration we all have with what's going on in Washington, D.C., throughout our nation. Just to help us make up our minds, if you looked at this, that this was a foundation or a private entity making the same offer in the same way, would that change how we are looking at this? Were this a private foundation making the identical offer? And my final question or comment in here is, what if we get 15, 20 of these submissions through the RFP? And at best, they're mediocre. Are we forced, through the grant, to make a selection of mediocrity, because that's the best we've gotten, rather than the brilliance? So in trying to help, I'm very sensitive to what council people have said on this side, talking about, I mean, it just tears at us all, because we all know the needs of the entire country and what we've been through. And we all, and I shouldn't speak for anybody else but myself, really do feel the how irresponsible some things have been handled, to put it gently. So the question is, can I separate myself from my lack of confidence in the federal government right now and look at this independently? So I'm taking myself out of that it came from the federal government and saying to myself, what if it were a foundation that was putting up this same money? And then I definitely would want to know, do you have to select from a list? Do you have to select, no matter how weak or mediocre that list is? You have to select. And the criteria of that selection.
So Mayor, I heard three questions there, so I'm going to try and answer them succinctly. So the first question is the selection committee. How does the selection committee get picked? The EDA has some guidelines, and it basically is we need a 10-member panel of experts. The two other cities that have accepted this award accepted it several months back, and so we're talking with them about best practices. We were very careful before accepting this award, making sure we had a lot of conversations with the EDA and with the other two cities to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So we're going to come back to you with a recommendation, and the city manager's office with a recommendation about the best way to select people from our community. My guess is, and after conversations with the EDA, that it's going to be people in our community who have expertise about a particular field or function, such as medical district, but they can't be involved at all in the competition. So there has to be that separation between the selection committee and the groups who are providing applications. The second question...
And are you, excuse me, are you allowed to accept consultants on that from out of state? Somebody with expertise, that who cares?
There would be no rule against that. I don't know that we would specifically go after that, though. That wouldn't, I don't know why we do that.
Okay.
The second question about the criteria, once we establish the committee, we would rely and work closely with experts to help us establish what the criteria should be. Working closely with Scott and the EUD team and the team here at the city, we would figure out what the best criteria would be, but we'd want to rely on some outside experts to help us figure out what would be best going forward.
And if those standards are set by this committee with the input from the city staff, and they are not met at the level of expectation, does the grant mandate that you select regardless?
So this is new for the EDA, it's new for us. I believe the grant would mandate that we select regardless, but...
Well, I would jump in here and say that if we didn't make a selection, we've already spent some of the grant funds, whether it's on the marketing firm or our own staffing, and we chose not to move forward because we didn't like, as you suggested, the quality of the proposals. We probably would have a repayment obligation to EDA for those funds we've already spent. I mean, I think at some point we could say, we'll give you the money back because we didn't like any of our proposals, but then it'll be less. We're going to have to give them back what we've already spent out of that. Now, that wouldn't be a lot of money. I mean, as we've said, we've capped that at the administration. Our budget was $100,000 for administration, the marketing and staffing costs. And were we to get into that the first round of prizes, we'd spend another $100,000. So we might be $200,000 into it and say, well, we just don't see anybody here that merits consideration. I don't know if they'd let us do do another round? We haven't really broached that question.
Well, and to me, that's a very critical thing, and it's very important that as you're selecting from this group and their proposals, that obviously each entity or human that is making a proposal and responding to the RFP is thoroughly vetted, that they have credibility in the field of whatever they're presenting. But if in fact you don't get that quality, that's a very disturbing piece to me.
One of the benefits of being last out of the gate, or the last city to accept the award if we accept it, is that we can learn from these other two cities. And we have been having pretty active dialogue about their process and their challenges. And this is brand new to EDA. The conversations we've had with them are very similar to this. So I think they're testing it out as well. We would let them test it out on the other two cities and work through it with them afterwards.
And what's the date that you have to respond to them to say that we have accepted this grant?
If you accept the award today, and that's what your approval would do, is accept the award, our 18-month time period starts.
And if in fact we need more time to get some of these specifics answered, how long would we have? What puts us, we're not in jeopardy of losing it, I'm sure, that we're in dialogue about it. Or are we?
I can't answer that on behalf of the EDA. We've spent the last 6 months really kind of negotiating with them and talking at great lengths about these exact same questions, and I think they're somewhat anxious to move the program forward. So I can't respond because I don't know exactly what the EDA would do.
Are you very comfortable
with this program?
Mm-hmm.
I feel very confident that we have a really good team at the city, and I feel very confident in the process. Yeah, I think we'll have a really good program.
And that you can get your arms around it, hold on to it, so that something that really comes through that benefits the city and is of the quality we're seeking, apropos of Councilman Barlow's comments, that level of input that we're going to get.
Yeah, I think we made the breakthrough in our discussions with EDA on this, because we, as I said, we expressed a lot of the same questions and concerns
Right.
that you've raised, was when they agreed to let us channel the competition into those areas that we've already identified in our strategy. And so I feel very confident that we're going to get a significant number of quality proposals around those areas, just because folks are lining up behind those anyways. I think the statement was made, we've already gotten proposals, for example, for Cashman. Well, we have. I've seen every single one.
Right.
They're not very well fleshed out. In fact, some of them are pie in the sky. What this, I hope, would get us are real proposals that somebody spent some time and money on, and they're ready to go forward, but for the prize.
Does the RFP in its criteria demands have the same across-the-board requirement that you will submit, who cares, architecturals, electricals, or whatever, that everybody knows that when they are entering this competition, that this is the playing field and you will supply, who cares, models or whatever it is?
Yeah, that's one of those ones that, we'll let our technical team work on that. That's one where it may be we want to keep it fairly wide open in terms of how they respond, because that's part of that creative process. When you're in a competition, we may get different ways they submit proposals to us. And that's part of how they respond. I think the key is going to be the criteria that we've established for selection. How many jobs does it create? What kind of impact does it create on the community? I think that's one of the reasons why we're selected as well. We were the leading city in economic distress during the recession. And I think that was one of the things that helped us get the grant as well, along with putting a really good proposal together. So I think EDA is going to be very concerned about that issue, and I think we should be concerned about that. Are these proposals going to create a positive economic impact?
Give us the very bleakest scenario. The bleakest scenario, you said, is $250,000 that we've already got set aside.
I think the bleakest scenario is we've spent the $100,000 on administration, we've spent $100,000 on those preliminary round prizes, and we don't get a really good final proposal out of those three, we elect, as I
So we're
said
out
earlier,
200,000?
we might have to give EDA the money back, and we have to repay the 200,000.
200,000.
Yeah, but I think the probability of that happening is not very good. I think
Okay.
the probability
I
of
always
getting.
like to know the worst side.
No,
you
I'm
know.
being very transparent. I think the probability is we're going to get some stimulated thought. We're going to have entrepreneurs in this community and business people see the opportunity this represents, and they're going to get some of their costs covered in that first round of prizes, and they're going to get a lot of it covered if they win.
And that, you have been working on this alongside of, with the leadership of Brian and his team. Are you of the same mind? I'm asking this because obviously this got a lot of issues in it, and we're sort of in the dark with all this criteria and process. But you do it. That's what you've been doing for 6 months. So you're of the same comfort zone?
Yes. One of the reasons why we don't have those details in place is in our exchange of information with the other cities. A couple of them have already stubbed their toe a little bit with federal regulations and issues by defining them too quickly up front. I'll give you an example. One of the cities put on their selection committee, I think it was a university president, who then, because he was on the selection committee, they had to take themselves out of the competition. They had intended to compete, and lo and behold, there's a conflict of interest. And so we have deliberately not done some of that until we understand the rules and we got your endorsement.
Okay. Okay, well, obviously we have differing opinions up here.
Mayor?
So who wants to make a motion? I will have
Mayor?
I was going to ask Mr. Jervik or Mr. Steed. Okay, enough of that. All right, Councilman Barlow.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the great deliberation here today. I would like to move for approval of this item, subject to all conditions. I believe that it's a great opportunity for the city of Las Vegas. That would be my motion.
Okay, there is a motion, and I have to say, as I vote, I have full faith in our staff. And so, don't bother coming up to the mayor's office ever again if you're wrong. I'm kidding you. Kidding you. Think you're the best, and I know this is what you've been eating and breathing and sleeping with, so. Okay, there's a motion, please vote. And please post. You walk away and you don't even know what happened. Oh, cheating. That's our staff. Motion carries. Thank you very much. It will be interesting. Could we please too see the criteria and everything as you get information? Thank you very much. Okay, we are on to item number 45. Is that where we are?
45 and 46.
Okay. Oh, right. Item number 45 has been obeyed to the 4th of September, and item 46 has been stricken. So we're on to item number 47, and that is boards and commissions for possible action. Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority, Father Dave Casiglio, term expires 9/7/2013. I understand that Councilman Coffin has a recommendation? Or am I
Your Honor,
misled?
I would move to reappoint Father Dave Casiglio to the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority.
Okay, there is a motion, but did I, in fact, fail to ask anybody? Did anybody really also have something to say?
I'd like to say something, Mayor, with your permission.
Is it all right as we go forward? The motion's on the floor. I would like to hear a comment.
I just want to concur with Councilman Coffin. I had the privilege of serving with Father Dave Casiglio on the Las Vegas Housing Authority when it was the Las Vegas Housing Authority. The man is talented, and more so, he's passionate about what he does in regards to putting roofs over the heads of some of our less fortunate in this community. I have full faith in him. He did a fabulous job when I served with him. He continues to do the same. So I'd second Councilman Coffin's motion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I shouldn't allow it, but you have gone to school to be part of this city, so. Your microphone, if you're going to say something, the microphone.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I attend all the Housing Authority meetings, and Father Dave does a tremendous job. He's the chairman right now. Thank you.
Councilman Barlow.
Yes, Mayor. I would
Briefly, so
also
we
like to
can vote.
concur with Councilman Coffin in relation to Father Dave. I've known him for many, many years, and although he may be controversial at times, he's very well thought out and highly respected in my book because he's most definitely not a rubber stamper, specifically when it comes to housing issues. He does his homework, and he really, really cares about the residents here in the city of Las Vegas and the city as a whole, for that matter. And so for that, I appreciate his leadership and look forward to him to continue to serve, and thank Councilman Coffin for the reappointment.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and vote on the motion, please. And please post. Unanimous, and you will count, Madam Clerk, will advise through the process. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 48. Recommending committee. Bill eligible for adoption at this meeting is Bill number 2013-30. Councilman Barlow, do you wish to have the bill read?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Councilman. Bill number 20-13-30, an ordinance to re-adopt the municipal code provisions making state law misdemeanors city misdemeanors if committed within the city.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Thank you. This motion, please vote and please post. That motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 49, bill number 201333. Councilman Barr, you wish to have the bill read?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Before reading the bill, I'm going to ask you to hold this bill in abeyance until August 21st. There was an error in not printing the First Amendment that came out of recommending committee, because that raises an issue as to whether or not we had the right backup material to go along with this line item. Out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to ask you to hold it in abeyance until August 21st.
Mayor, I'll move that we hold this item in abeyance till August 21st. That would be my motion.
Thank you very much. There's a motion. Please vote. And please post. That motion carries. Item number 49 will be held for the August 21st City Council meeting. We will now move on to item number 50, bill number 2013-34. Councilman Barlow, you wish to have the bill read?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Bill number 2013-34, an ordinance to update the city's regulations regarding tavern limited licensure to provide an outdoor entertainment complex to permit the consideration of a temporary privilege license to be forwarded to the City Council at the discretion of the planning director and to provide for all the related matters.
Move for approval.
Thank you very much. This motion, please vote and please post.
I just wanted to clarify something.
Yes?
We're just checking something out.
We're checking on
This is
something.
This is a little general wording. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember if it's what I... This is the one that we're going to allow liquor to be sold closer than our current ordinances grant. We have someone to clarify it for me.
Flynn Fagg, Department of Planning, Madam Mayor, through you. No, this item is specific to the container park that's located at 7th and Fremont Street in the Entertainment District.
Okay, it's the container park, but it would be for other uses also if they match the same situation?
It's rather limited in its scope. It's defined as an outdoor entertainment complex of at least 1 acre in size and has to be located within the 6-block area of the entertainment district. So only within the entertainment district.
Just a second.
If I could, Councilwoman, we already have limited taverns in this area, and that removes the distance separation. The thing that's different about the container park is that within the confines of the container park and only the container park, you can have multiple taverns where those taverns can bring alcohol from one tavern to another. I think that's the difference.
Okay,
Patrons
I'm
can.
understanding, this was worded slightly differently than the way it was discussed with me, but that's all right. I wanted to say that I think the people who have supported this make a very good presentation for the way they feel. I have a great concern about it, and my concern is, I know that they're going to say there's going to be security. I know we're going to say that, you know, they have this at Disneyland and they have it at Chuck E. Cheese. Disneyland has probably one of the best securities in the country. And Chuck E. Cheese, it isn't as difficult to watch over that number of children or whatever. I feel very concerned about this, and not for a lack of respect for the individuals who support this, but just from my own experience and knowledge of what's happening right now with liquor and youngsters, and how easily they divert themselves, no matter how good you have your security, they divert into the drinking, and we've been having more and more problems downtown. So I'm just stating this now, nothing against the container group, just that that's my feeling. Too close to other things and too much liquor there for youngsters. So.
Any other comments, questions on this? If I might, Mr. Flynn, is it all right if I ask Ms. Duddleston? Is it all right if I, knowing that she's part of your team, any issues here in regard to this, since Councilwoman had made mention of what she's done?
I think the ordinance is pretty self-explanatory. At recommending committee, licensing did bring up to make sure that we had clear direction at some point in time from you on a density level. The ordinance does not address how many taverns may go in there at a number-wise, or if there is a ratio, and to make sure we have a clear understanding of what uses we're mixing in there. So if other businesses come in, that we have a good understanding from the council when those licenses come forward, if there's any restriction on what we can or cannot approve to go into the container park with alcohol in a common consumption area. Those were the comments that we made at that time.
Okay, and so therefore, any additional requests for occupancy in there, those would have to come through licensing anyway. So that would come
They do
to
have to come through licensing. We want to make sure at the time that you would approve any such outdoor entertainment complex to have that common area, that we have a very clear understanding of what we can and cannot approve to go in there, so we are not creating the situation that Councilman Tarkanian brought up with mixing types of businesses that might specifically attract young people to that.
Okay, so this actually, the way this is stated and the way it is proposed to the council for approval, this protects what you have been discussing going forward.
The ordinance simply states that we would bring back to you any proposals that came under this ordinance.
Good.
Any rules, any regulations, any conditions on the number of those licenses or whatever are not in the ordinance.
Okay.
They would have to be placed on that first license and dealt with by the city council at that time, because they are not in here.
I understand what you're saying. I also understand we have a big problem downtown. I've mentioned this in the CMO briefings. I've spoken with people who've been there. I've seen it myself. And we can say, well, you know, the rest of Fremont Street is different, and we're going to handle this separately. I have seen where in similar situations it has not occurred. There's no other place now in the city, right, that could do this?
Correct. Under the current city codes, if you were having a tavern limited license, or if you were having a restaurant with any sort of alcohol, you would have a designated area that was contained. So your seating area or whatever would have a fence around it, similar to the you might see at Town Square or something like that, where there's restaurants open onto the common area, and they have an outdoor area that has a contained, and it's in there. What this does is allow those fences not to be there, and for people to take alcoholic beverages and walk within an area that you all would designate in that license.
And so
That's what it
someone
does.
could buy a drink for an underage and give it to them or the underage might be able to. Oh, they'll be arrested. Well, that's really good because they're not being arrested now. And I'm talking about the security that's being offered downtown, that's separate from our own metro. I'm talking about metro officers that are saying we're told to handle it this way, which to me means don't look at it. I work with a lot of groups on alcoholism with youngsters, and I just know that we're taking a big gamble on this, and I expect this to pass, by the way, but I myself cannot vote for it just because of the knowledge I have and the concerns I have because of that.
Thank you, and thank you both. Appreciate it. Do you want to make a motion? Just Councilman Anthony Coffin, anybody? Everybody did, including?
We all voted.
So we just post. It was so long ago, I didn't realize I voted.
I know.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you very much. We will move on now to item number 51, correct? Okay, items 51 through 53. Okay. Bills number 2013-31, 2013-32, and 2013-35 are eligible for adoption later. The meeting will move on to new bills. And so here we go, new bills. Number 54. Okay. Items 54 and 55, bills 2013-36, 2013-37 will be heard at recommending committee meeting on Tuesday, August 20th. City Attorney, please read our brand-new bills.
I'll be happy to, Your Honor. Bill number 2013-36, an ordinance to update the city's alcohol licensing regulations, including the adjustment of license categories, update corresponding zoning, gaming, and other regulatory provisions regarding alcohol-related uses and prohibitory matters. And finally, Bill number 2013-37, an ordinance to update the city's regulations regarding obstructions and encroachments within the city's right-of-way and to provide for other related matters.
Thank you very much. And these new bills will be assigned to council members Barlow, Anthony, and Coffin for recommending committee. So thank you, and we will now move on to item 56, items 56 through 59. 56 through 59, okay. On the consent agenda, are considered to be routine or recommended for approval by the Department of Planning. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 56 through 59, please?
So moved.
Thank you. There's a motion. Please vote. And please post. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And on to item 60. What was that last one? Yes. EOT 49395, abeyance item, applicant owner, SC Partners LLC, for possible action or request an extension of time of an approved site development plan, SDR 20957, for a proposed 9-lot addition to an existing mobile manufactured home park within a portion of .98 acres at 1200 North Lamb Boulevard, RMHP Residential Mobile Manufactured Home Park Zone 3, and that's in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff recommends denial. Is the applicant present? Mr. Fagg, if you would be good enough to tell us, one, why the denial, and then two, if you would make comment.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. On this extension of time application, the original site plan was approved back in 2007. This is the third request for an extension of time, and is typical with these types of applications. Once they get into the third request, we recommend denial. It's really better to submit a new site plan. That way we can assess the context and how things have changed in the area through those conditions of approval. And so that's the basis for our recommendation of denial. The use may still be appropriate there. In fact, it's hard to imagine it being anything other but mobile home spaces, but again, conditions may have changed.
And is there a time limit or penalty for coming back?
There is no penalty for coming back at this point in time. It's just the application fees that they would need to pay to file a new application.
Thank you very much. Councilman Coffin?
Well, thanks, Your Honor. We've been actively, at least Ward 3's office has been actively working with the owner of the property to look at his uses, and we've been running those by people and staff so that we could get, if not a green light from them, but rather just an idea as to how receptive they would be. I think this is going to happen within a year, and so therefore I will move for approval of the abeyance item, extension of time, EOT 49395.
Thank you. There's a motion. Please vote and please post. Thank you. That motion carries. The item 61 has been obeyed to September 18th, correct? All right. Item 62, I instruct the city clerk to set the public hearing dates and appeals from the City Planning Commission meetings and dangerous building or nuisance litter abatements. Thank you. And we move on to item number 63. Goodness. Citizen participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of City Council. No subject may be acted upon by the City Council unless that subject's on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come up to the podium, please. Give your name for the record, the amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion of the agenda?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. And I'd like to bring you up to date on what our banking buddies are up to with your stimulus money. On the 29th, on the national news, Channel 8, it has that the banks were buying oil futures, which drives up our gas prices. I hope you saw that. On the 30th, on NBR, it had that J.P. Morgan, although they didn't admit any guilt, they paid $1,400 million plus for controlling our electric prices on the West Coast. On another item, Councilman Beers, on item number 44, you mentioned that the government was printing money. That's not correct. The U.S. government does not print the money. The government was given the sovereignty to a private limited corporation, the Federal Reserve, to print over sovereignty of the money. And then they borrow the money from the Federal Reserve. If the government kept the sovereignty of the money, there would be no national debt. There might be inflation, there would be inflation, but there would not be a national debt. And on some other things, it would have been all right, the Federal Reserve was all right until 1972 when Nixon took us off the gold standard so they could just print money right out of the air. There is no backing on the currency whatsoever. Nothing. It's printed out of air. The only requirement is that they have to set aside 6% for emergencies, whatever the hell that is. And this massive debt that we started, remember that Reagan was the one that started this with his voodoo economics. He was the one that tripled the national debt. And it's just spun out of control since then. And then it was Bush that used the 9/11 for his full employment programs. That's where we got the TSA and all the rest of this crap. Our wars of choice, which nobody has even a clue of how much those things are going to cost, and including the war on the individual freedoms with this NASA going nuts. And now is on the news that they're even recording our mail now. Think of that. I mean, why do they need the people that send me the mail? They're getting the return addresses and the addressee address. It's sick. But the government says to trust them. During the Whitey Bulger trials, if you've been watching that, it's been noted that the FBI in Boston and Miami are actual criminal enterprises. Actual criminal enterprises. And the government's saying to trust them. Unbelievable.
Thank you. All right. Excuse me, and please come forward, state your name for the record.
Yes, Mayor. Lawrence LaPointe, 520 South 10th Street. I have a matter for Councilman Coffin, being his ward. We got some trouble down there, Bob, and this is my neighbor Ramona Meeks. She's a 40-year resident, and I'm a 40-year resident there myself.
You grew up together.
Hello.
And would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Ramona Meek. I live at 613 South 8th Street. I've lived there since '77 and been at that home since 1966. Beautiful area, but it's getting crazy now.
Okay, your comments, please.
Well, we're having major burglaries down there due to the methamphetamine problem, and people down there are all on drugs, and they're stealing all the air conditioners. I have 12 lawyers who were supposed to be here today, and they're not here because they're too busy working. We've lost about 12 air conditioning units in the last maybe 2 weeks. And they're just jumping up on the roofs, and they're driving up with a big truck and a trailer, and they're just stealing them whole. And they come into work Monday, staff comes to work, there's no AC. And we've been watching heavily. She's at night, and I'm at night down there. And they're all our friends, these attorneys, and I work for a lot of the attorneys, and we're just like family down there. And they don't have security, they just, so I just kind of took over the job, plus I'm their gardener too. Well, now everybody's just getting pilfered to death down there.
Okay, I'm sure Councilman Coffin, I don't even want to take a
Gonna pitch in on that right now. Thanks.
And Metro, et cetera.
Thanks, Your Honor. The important thing is, Felipe is going to meet with you right now to tie this down, because we've met before on other problems.
Yes.
And usually we get good response out of Metro. And maybe it has been just a bit too much time has gone by since the last meeting. So we'll have to work on that. And it's the outcome of what happens when you drive your residents out of a downtown area, or you drive the business to another outlying part of town, leaving the downtown area depopulated, and you're surrounded by professional offices and other businesses instead of people living there 24/7. So it's changing, as a matter of fact, now. Many of the people that are moving in now are living in and working in downtown, but we're not there yet. So I think that's kind of your mutual aid society that has to occur. So I don't want to take too much of your public time, but I do want to say that right now, Felipe Ortiz is waiting in the back of the room for you and you to make sure you get with him, and we'll call Metro today and get some follow-up for you.
Okay, great.
sure
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
And
guys are
Felipe
great.
is right there, up against, I can't see which president,
We're just at our wits' end down there.
He's in front of Madison.
These people are just, the droves of homeless, and they're the ones that's starting all the trouble. And they're just sleeping everywhere. We've got to do something.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming forward. It's very important that you open the communication,
I've
and
lived
we
there
can't
for-
address it without that. So thank you very much, and Felipe will corral you. Anyone else? Thank you. We will move on to item 64. Council member recognition. Comments made by individual city council members during this portion of the agenda will not be acted upon by the city council unless that subject's on the agenda and scheduled for action. I'm sure everybody has something. Last time I started on the right, this time we start on the left. And Councilwoman, you're up first.
I just wanted to say that we had our very successful National Night Out last night at Clark, and they continue to range about 2,000 people. When they come, we'll be having some more coming up in the latter part of August, and I'll talk about that at our next meeting.
Thank you, Councilman Barlow.
Thank you, Mayor. I, too, want to congratulate the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department for a great National Night Out. I was at downtown with Councilman Coffin last night at Downtown Area Command, as well as the Bolden Area Command over at Matt Kelly during the Summer Safe Night with Patricia Harris, the principal, as well as Lisa Campbell, who's over the Nevada Youth Alliance, who did a wonderful job with Safe Summer Nights over at Matt Kelly. In addition to that, on August 17th will be the grand reopening of Lorenzi Park, and also my annual back-to-school fair, which will be given out approximately 1,500 backpacks to school-aged children, grades K through 5. And we want to make sure that all of these students in the community who are in need of a backpack, please come out. They're full of school supplies. We want to make sure that each student has the appropriate tools necessary in order to be successful in the classroom, returning back to school. But in addition to that, we spent a lot of your tax dollars to renovate Lorenzi Park, and so this is going to be very exciting. Of course, the mayor and council will be there to help celebrate the grand reopening, and we'll also have a paddle boat race between, I believe, Mayor Pro Tem Stavros Anthony and Councilman Steve Ross versus Betsy Fretwell and Councilman Ricky Barlow out on the lake, the paddle boat race. So I hope your lungs are ready to go.
I've been practicing for a month, and I have a trainer.
Okay. Well, we're behind schedule on that because I don't have a trainer, but we're gonna have a great time in this park. I'm going out just to take another look at it. It is so adorable, Mayor, and I believe that this is most definitely going to be an exciting park to return to once again for the entire community, with all of the wonderful amenities that we've been able to bring back into the park from a historical standpoint. So thank you all so very much, and look forward to you all coming out August 17th, Lorenzi Park, Saturday, August 17th. The back-to-school fair will start at 8 a.m., and the grand reopening will start at 11 a.m. See you all there.
Thank you very much. Councilman Coffin.
Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations to Councilman Barlow for the progress on his park. That is a big park. It's one I enjoyed when it was called Twin Lakes when I was a kid, and it's so great to see it coming back to life as the equivalent of a regional park. Very nice jewel in the crown of the city. And I wanted to say that I enjoyed last night, too, because we had 2 different meetings at 2 different homeowners associations on Lamb Boulevard, and then I joined the councilman for the grand party over at the Downtown Area Command, a wonderful block party. And met representatives of the city marshals. I think we might have even had some COs there, too, were there to help along with Metro. And Nellis people were there, too. It was a great time to talk about the cooperation between law enforcement and this community, and how to emphasize to the community that law enforcement is on their side. And I know sometimes there's friction between law enforcement and the public at any given time, but on the other hand, when we need them, they're there. The thing is we need to know how to connect with them. And that's what National Night Out's all about, is learning how to do these things, learning how to set up your neighborhood watch, learning how to trust and know your neighbor so that you can watch their back and they can watch yours. I want to say one last comment in my brief moment here. It has to do with the issue of alcohol, which has come up on the front burner again. And it's okay because it's a public discussion item. Anytime we have alcohol in the news, the consumption, sometimes by minors and sometimes, frankly, by adults who don't know how to handle their liquor and have no impulse control. We have a town that is founded on an adult industry. It's very hard for a lot of people to understand that we have to maintain that image as a good place to be, while at the same time allowing people to have fun. It's a tough balancing act. And so when we have controversy over something like a container park or public drunkenness, intoxication, if you will, because it's not just alcohol, on Fremont Street at a given hour in the morning, early morning, usually after First Friday, we have a responsibility to make sure that that is a safe area for adults to play. We discourage young people, we discourage youth from being around there. It is our intent to preserve this for the adults. After all, you have to be 21 to gamble and 21 to drink. So let's face it, if they're 18 and it's after curfew, they shouldn't be there. And they should be evicted, or at least told by the police that they need to leave. And there is also a current discussion about how much alcohol is available for sale along Fremont Street. And this is a problem for all of us, even though East Fremont and the southern half of the Fremont Street experience are in Ward 3. I share that area with Councilman Barlow. We have, I think all members of our council have an interest in preserving the goodwill and the good relationships that our citizens have, not only with the legal authorities and the police, but with each other. So we're going to need to step up enforcement down there. We're also going to have more and more constant meetings with between the business owners and the police and all the others who represent areas of concern in our community about the social aspects of intoxication. We do not take lightly anybody's worry. When we approve a container park, we absolutely think that in its contained version and in its controlled access environment, that kind of thing can survive. And if it does well, then it's a good model for the city. If it doesn't, we'll stop there. That's as simple as it is. And I'm very confident once the enforcement is assured by the approval process, which the park tenants have to go through, I think we'll find out that we can make it work. But it's a public debate. It's going to continue. And I say, bring it on. Let's talk about it, because not everybody has all the right answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem, we're going left to right.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to invite everyone to the Ward 4 Back to School Fair and Movie. It will be held Friday, August 16th at 6:30 p.m. It's free admission. It's going to be held at the Durango Hills Community Center, which is at 3521 North Durango, or Durango and Gowans. I will be there. I'm bringing free school supplies for our kids to get them ready for school, and I've also partnered up with State Assemblyman Wesley Duncan, who is also going to bring more school supplies to hand out for free to our kids to get them ready. So we're not only going to get kids ready for school, but we're going to have some fun activities, and then it'll culminate in a PG-rated family film, The Pirates, Band of the Misfits. We'll have some popcorn and water provided during the movie. If you'd like to bring your dinner with you, come on by. You can bring your dinner and watch the movie. So again, it's Friday, August 16th, 6:30 p.m. If you need more information, you can call 229-2524. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councilman Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any Ward 6 announcements other than Councilman Anthony. I dressed up as a pirate at my last movie in the park. That's the little challenge I'm throwing at you, that you at least wear the eye patch or something like that.
Thanks.
That's all I had there.
Thank you very much. Councilman Beers.
Well, if you want a real pirate movie, then you come to the Ward 2 Back to School Fair. By the way, on that opening of Lawrence Park, that is a very big congratulations, Councilman Barlow. That is, again, a jewel of the system. I think it was very wise to not invite a third boating competitor, because frankly, the team of Beers and Coffin would have paddled your boats. But that's okay. We're going to have our Back to School Fair tomorrow night, Thursday, August 8th, at the Anson Sister City Park, and invite everyone out to enjoy the movie Under the Stars and the school supplies and binders while supplies last. We will run out. We did last year. Balloon artists, face painters, and a jump house will be there for additional fun. Grown-ups might enjoy what Ward 2 resident Mac King is doing. I met Mac when he came out for the shindig we did at Baskin Park a couple of months ago. And he's going on a fall promote school literacy program. It works like this. If you donate 3 or more new or gently used books to the Clark County Reads program, they will be donated to students in at-risk schools, and the donors will be rewarded with a couple of tickets to see the Mac King Comedy Magic Show, which is entering, I think it's 4th or 5th or 19th or 37th year, I forget, at Harris. Excellent show. He's a funny, funny man and a talented performer. You can do this deal at any of the Grimaldi's pizzerias. Drop your book off. They will give you the coupon. Supposedly, they're also giving a $5 off pizza coupon as well. The Grimaldi's in Ward 2 is inside Tivoli, but if you'll go to grimaldispizzeria.com, you can see where the other 4 locations are around the valley, if that's more convenient. Speaking of reading and getting old, which we weren't, but I will, this is the 20th anniversary of the Summerlin Library. Wow. So they're going to celebrate Thursday, August 15th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., a day full of festivities, balloons, face painting, DJ Tony, a book sale, and other special events, 507-3860 if you're interested. And then on August 16th, that is the following Friday, 2 Fridays out, We'll be doing coffee with the councilman at the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, which is right across from Costco at Park Run Drive up there. Come start your morning with a chat and a cup of joe with me. We'll be there from 8 to 9:30. Hope to see you there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We have no missing child report?
No missing child?
Well,
We have no missing children, well, I'm sure we do, but we haven't heard word, and that's sometimes a big problem, that children go missing and parents and family members don't know who to call. You can always call Nevada Child Seekers if you are missing a child, and they will get on the ball and try to find them.
Thank you very
We're looking
much.
good. My
Thank you.
dressing as a pirate challenge goes to both of my colleagues to the left and the right of me. For their wonderful events. We just had our big event, and it was very successful, giving some kids some school supplies. And,
Wonderful.
I did want to remind all the P folks, school is going to be starting soon, so those lights will be flashing. Watch the kids in the school zones, and try to avoid getting a ticket.
Great. All right, well, hearing anyone else? There is no one, so we are adjourning this meeting. Our next meeting is